Welcome in, guys. Adam here, the Orlando drummer. Good to see you, and thank you for tuning in to another drum lesson. Now, the word linear has become really popular in the drumming community over about the past decade. And if you've ever YouTube searched linear grooves or linear fills, you've probably figured out that there's a million videos on that topic. So for this lesson, instead of giving you yet another linear pattern, I wanted to give you guys a concept that can be applied to almost anything you play in 16th notes that is linear. We have 3 examples to cover, so let's get started. In our first example, we're only working with 4 notes. Those notes are right, left, left, kick, and we're going to play that 4 times in a row in the subdivision of 16th notes. Now the right hand, I want you to accent that, and you can move it anywhere you want around the drum set, and the left hands, we'll keep those on the snare as ghost notes. At 100 BPM, as a 16th note fill, we would now have this. So now let's talk about the kick drums that fall on the of each beat of music. I want you to take each one of those kicks and diddle them, or play 2 30-second notes instead of 1 16th note. The catch is, when we get to beat 4, you're not going to want to do that there, because ending a fill with 2 diddled kick drums in 30-second notes is going to make it really hard to get out of that fill. But if we diddle the kicks in beats 1, 2, and 3, we would now have this. Pretty cool, right? Now, the idea of diddling these kick drums doesn't always have to have that hurta sort of sound. There's a few different applications that we can find to implement this concept inside of our linear drumming. So let's move on to our second example and see what else we can do. For our second example, I'm going to get a little Benny Greb on you guys, but I didn't think you would mind too much. So for this one, I want you to play a basic 8th note rock groove. On the of beat 2, we're going to have a kick drum there. And in beat 3, I want you to play 3 8th note triplets down on the floor tom. Coming out of beat 3, on the downbeat of 4, we're going to have a snare and a crash together, and that could also be a stacker. It doesn't really matter. I know that sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's not too bad. So before we apply our stuttering concept, at 90 BPM, this groove would sound like this. Now, just like our last example, all we're going to do is diddle the kicks. But in this case, I only want you to diddle the kick drum on the of beat 2. Now, playing 2 30-second note kick drums before the subdivision of 8th note triplets almost helps set up the clunkiness of the 8th note triplets, and this definitely reminds me of Benny Greb and a little Snickel as well. With a stuttered kick drum before the 8th note triplets in beat 3, we would now have this. And for our last example, we're going to do sort of a combo exercise using elements from the last 2 examples that we just covered. So this one is in 16th notes and 8th note triplets. We're going to start out by playing 2 6-note groupings, and those groupings are the same. Right, left, left, kick, and I'm going to be accenting the first 3 notes in those groupings. So that equals 12 notes, and it lands us right on the downbeat of 4. But in beat 4, instead of playing more 16th notes, we're going to switch to 8th note triplets, and you're going to play right, left, right, down on your floor tom. At 90 BPM, this fill would sound like this. And you know the drill. Now we're going to diddle all those kick drums, turning the single 16th note kicks into two 32nd note kick drums. For me, when I apply this concept to this particular fill, it feels a little bit more like the kick drums are setting up the next grouping instead of being the last kick drum in a grouping. But that's a matter of preference and perspective. This one's a little bit tougher, so we're going to try it out at two tempos, 75 and 100 BPM. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today, but thank you so much for tuning in. It is much appreciated. Remember, with lessons like this, it is not my goal to pass along specific linear fills. In a lesson like this, I want you to take this concept and keep it in your back pocket. So on a rainy day, you can think about this and start tweaking with your own 16th note linear fills, because trust me, you can take this concept way further than we did in today's lesson. If you guys are looking for more lessons like this, come join me on OrlandoDrummer.com, where you will find hundreds of lessons already waiting and a brand new lesson every week, including a full masterclass on the topic of kick stuttering, which expands heavily on the stuff we talked about today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Adam here, the Orlando Drummer, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Later.